So in this video, I am going to focus on the measuring tape. The measuring tape is actually a very important tool for fashion designers, and you would not believe, in my experience, how many designers I have come across that still are a little bit unclear on how to use a measuring tape in order to visualize their designs in a realistic fashion. So let's get into the measuring tape. This is going to be the part 1 lesson of the measuring tape. What I'm holding in my hands right now are two basic scales or rulers. These are known as 12-inch scales that you can buy at any stationery store. This is a 12-inch scale, and so is this one. If I told you that this was 30.48 centimeters, I don't think you might be too sure about that. You might have to really Google it up. But 12 inches equals to 30.48 centimeters. That's the math. But in fashion design, we don't really look at math so much. We use math as a way of calculating design. However, at the end, we have to look at our design and see how does it look, how does it feel, and then go with the numbers. If you look at old styles from before, you would notice that the silhouettes have always changed over the years. Originally, fashions used to have huge ball gowns, and today fashions are more very slimmer. There's something known as a silhouette distancing. Basically means that you are wearing something, it could be really large or it could be really, really slim. Now that is known as space in design. So if you look at a 12-inch scale, there's a good chance that you would know what kind of distance that is. But if I told you 30 centimeters, you might not be too familiar with that. And that is one of the reasons why we would love to use inches in design as far as we are concerned in fashion, is because it allows us to know what kind of distancing that we can actually use by using a scale. If this is 12 inches, that would be 24 inches right there. But if I told you that this too is actually like 61 or so centimeters, I think you might not be too sure about that. That's why we would like to stick with inches in our fashion design, because it is easier for us to actually understand distancing. Okay, so this is basically your measuring tape. As you can see, I'm looking at the inches. If I turn the measuring tape around, I have inches on the top, but then I actually have centimeters at the bottom. Now, I don't like working with centimeters because it's very hard to do pattern making with centimeters. There are people out there doing pattern making with centimeters. I have no idea how they do it, but that's perfectly fine. If you think it's okay by your own methods of working in design, I'm okay with it as long as you're okay with it. But I don't recommend using centimeters in fashion design because it's a little bit misleading, and as you go through my lessons in my videos, you will see that I am actually explaining myself much clearer, and you'll understand why using inches is so much more better or easier to understand than using centimeters. Okay, now here goes. I'm going to turn it back because I really want to use the inches. Okay, now the first thing is I'm going to give you an example of how to understand in inches. So instead of going from here, I'm going to take from the 3-inch point. So if I do something like this, what you're looking at is 1 inch. Okay, that's 1 inch right there. I know it says 3, but the total of that is actually 1 inch. Now if I move this all the way till here, this is 1/2 inch. That means half of 1 inch, okay? Now, if I move this a little bit closer over there, that is a 1/4. So in other words, 1 inch is broken up into 4 parts. It's like you pretend you have a pizza pie, you buy the entire pizza pie, but you cut it into 4 pieces. So each piece is considered as a 1/4. So when you look at an inch, if that's one pizza pie right there, this is considered as half a pizza pie. half. And this is known as a quarter. So that's 1/4, half, 3/4, right? Because that's 1, 2, 3, that's 3 parts. And then that's the 4th part, and that becomes 1 inch. So that's a total of 1 pizza pie. That's half a pizza pie, and that is 1 slice from the pizza pie that is cut into 4 pieces. That is basically your 1 inch breakdown of a simple measuring tape. Now, I know it sounds kind of silly because you're like, oh my God, he's talking about pizza and all this kind of stuff. I don't understand. Now, here is the problem when we are doing pattern making. Now, I don't want to go into centimeters because then you'll really get confused, because when you really look at centimeters, you see it's not exact. The mathematics is not exact. So that means as you go from here to here, it's okay, and then it starts getting out of hand as you start going over here. Do you see that? The lines are not aligned because centimeters works very differently from inches, which is perfectly fine. I don't really mind about it because I really don't care about centimeters. I care more about inches. Now, when you are making a pattern, it is easy for you to say, I need a pattern to be 6 inches, okay? And immediately a half of that would be 3. So that means if I take 6 inches, let's say this is the opening of my wrist, my sleeve opening. I have a long sleeve and this is my sleeve opening. So if I have 6 as a pattern, that means half of that, I simply do this. Okay, half of that would be 3. Right there, that's 3, right? So if I do that, see, that is 6 right there, perfect. So when I'm making a pattern, I would do, 6 inches as a pattern. But if I want half of that pattern, it'll be 3. Perfect. If I was doing it in centimeters, oh my God, it's going to 15, 8.5, and 7.5, like whatever. It's just mathematically, I'm just confused. And pattern making and all that stuff is not really a math class. It's a style class. It is meant for you to design the pattern so that the style looks really nice. So that's 6 inches, and half of that would be 3 inches.